Bradley and I are tied. I started off 3-0, was feeling myself, thought things were going to go my way, but no. Bradley has come roaring back, and he had just 2 victories this weekend by the skin of his teeth. And I had a loss by the skin of the damn Seahawks' teeth. They lost by a touchdown. I had them +6, and they looked like they were going to win that game for a long period. But I think the Seahawks defense is really bad, and that's part of the situation here. And I might not learn my lesson, and I might be betting against the Saints again this week. But this is some of the results. Bradley covered by 0.5 points in that Browns game because they lost by 2, and then he covered by a point, meaning
like the razor thinnest backdoor covers for both of those games.
The Bengals only lost by 2 points, so it just the Steelers pick is inexcusable. I'm never betting on them again, aka for the foreseeable future. The Seahawks pick, I still think my thinking was correct, even if the outcome was not right. And the 49ers pick was the one I felt most confident in, and then they ended up destroying the Panthers and getting Matt Rule fired. So the Lions pick, Bradley, that was your most suspect one. And then
I should get a punishment for that pick alone. It should start now. getting blanked 29-0 by Bailey Zappi was absolutely unacceptable stuff.
Well, the Pats got that run game going.
Oh, yeah. It's not even right. It's not even necessarily they needed Zappi a whole lot. Just like Ramondre Stevenson and others were just running roughshod over the Lions. That defense is just atrocious.
Woo.
It is just like a sieve. Like it's a bunch of turnstiles in the run game. It's crazy. And especially surprising relative to last year because that was the feistier unit for the Lions last year. The offense was creative, but it wasn't as fun, and there wasn't as much firepower as there is this year. Like as we were talking about before, like I feel like we were kind of thinking, like Aaron Glenn, the DC for the Lions, former player, like he might be getting some offers because of like coaching up a better defense. Now it's like Ben Johnson, the OC, is the guy. Not everyone's like, what the hell is going on with this defense outside of like Aiden Hutchinson and Jeff Okudah, their quarterback, who's injured.
I don't even think Okudah is very good either, in my opinion.
And he's hurt too. So who's to say it might even and he's a holdover from a different administration too.
It seemed like that pick was like they couldn't trade out of the 3rd overall pick, so they were like Okudah, but he wasn't. I think there was some mixed analysis of him as a prospect, regardless. But all right, so this is who we've got coming up this week, and Bradley and I have one shared pick here, and it's going to be the Jaguars against the Colts. Let's start with that and talk about why we feel the way that we do about this upcoming game. For me, it's pretty simple. I think the Jaguars defense is better than the Colts defense, and I think their offense, despite not having a good past 2 weeks, is better than the Colts offense. The Jags defense has more star power, and I believe that Shaquille Leonard is still out with a broken nose and a concussion. He might be playing, but can we check that there? Shaquille Leonard, who I still have to tell myself.
It's not Darius Leonard, yeah.
That's not Darius, because that was his middle name, and he was like, I actually hate going by that, so please don't call me that anymore. But either way, I even with Shaquille Leonard playing, I'm not sure that moves the needle for me too much.
No, this team is really bad. Like, very, very bad.
They lucked into a win on Thursday Night Football against the disgusting Denver Broncos. And
squeaked one out in, like, a frankly, like, anomalous performance from the Chiefs. Like, they are bad. They are, like the Colts, the Chiefs do not lose that game if they don't miss a field goal, muff a punt, and like lose a few fumbles or whatever the case may be. It was a disaster in terms of their special teams and other things. It probably won't happen again. So yeah, I'm shocked, frankly, even though the Jaguars did not look good against the Texans this past week. I'm still surprised they're dogs against this Colts team.
Yes, and they've also had success against the Colts just generally. They knocked the Colts out of the playoffs in Week 17 last year.
That's right. The Colts have some kryptonite, and it's the Jacksonville Jaguars seemingly.
Yeah, and so I mean, I just for me that stood out when I was looking at some of the lines this. I was trying to see, then they won against the Colts earlier this year, so they're playing them again. They won 24-0 at home.
Right.
So, look, I guess if I thought the Colts had a revenge game in them against the Jaguars, I would pick the Colts, but I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, that's not looking like that. The offensive line has looked so bad, and so bad, especially given what they've invested in the line and what they have in the line. Matt Ryan looks many steps slower than he even did last year when he was playing.
He's going to get crushed by that defense and Trevon Walker.
Yeah,
and,
that's
Josh
another
Allen.
thing too, right? It's just like this also just does not seem like a good matchup for him in particular, and they're completely underutilizing and not even prioritizing Jonathan Taylor when healthy. Like when he is able to play, he is not. Like what's been crazy is they were obviously down to like their third string running back because I think Zach Pascal.
Naheem Hines, I started him in fantasy. He had a concussion right on either the first or second series, and it was it was like on Thursday Night Football, he stood up and was wobbly and had to be held up, and you're like, okay, after last Thursday Night Football, he should be out, 100%.
Of course, but they're not. They're absolutely not going to risk it.
Not bringing him
question,
back in after Russell, the situation with Russell Wilson.
So their third string running back Phillip Lindsay was in there in that Broncos game. But all that is to say is even when Taylor was running the ball, they weren't looking good in the run game. Yeah. So it's not even like, Taylor being back, or whenever Taylor comes back, it's going to look much better. They don't look good with any running back.
Right.
It's and they're a lot of their offense is funneling through the late round tight end Jelani Woods. Like that's like who they're mostly going to, like Mo Alley Cox. It's like it's just not.
I don't know why they don't feature tall white boy Alec Pierce more.
Yeah, Alec Pierce or Michael Pittman. Like I mean, I know he's been a little banged up as well, but it's just like there's not a whole lot of excuses there. And also it's a Gus Bradley defense. Like it's cover 2 every single snap. Like it's just there's nothing interesting or creative about this team. Like I'm not saying the Jags even were looking much better coming out of the Texans game, but still, I'm kind of surprised that they're +2.
Well, they struggle. Look, the Jags struggle to stop the run with Dameon Pierce, but I don't think Indy can run the ball in the way that people necessarily associated with them with that line. So
I agree. I totally agree.
That was what stood out to me there. Now, I'm picking the Bengals in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase's return to the Superdome in Louisiana, where they won the national championship.
Oh, gosh, right. I didn't even make that connection. That's crazy.
Now, I can't stand the way that Zach Taylor has been conservatively calling plays. I saw Chris Sims posted the route tree of what Jamar Chase actually runs, and it's just embarrassing how there's just very little creativity in the way that they try to set him up to get the ball.
We need like an ESVN like nemesis list.
Yeah, Zach Taylor's
down.
growing on there after Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's Russ, it's Zach Taylor.
it's Mike
Tom
McCarthy.
Brady. Yeah.
Although Mike McCarthy's like actually oddly having a good year so far.
Yeah, and it's almost more
agenda.
Right. It's almost more like pity there too before this recent Cowboys run, but now we can get back on there because he's succeeding again.
Yeah, unfortunately. So I just feel like I think the New Orleans defense is really overrated. I think the Bengals are desperate. They have been really close in games, losing within a touchdown or a field goal on the other side of things a variety of times. I just think they're way more talented in quarterback play and weapons because New Orleans is banged up, but even healthy, I think that the Bengals' weapons are better. And I just think that they're going to be able to make 1 or 2 plays to steal one and get them on the right track in a competitive AFC.
And frankly, honestly, like I think if the Bengals lose this game, there are going to be some tough questions. Because just if you just look at it on paper, the Saints team, especially with Jameis not fully healthy, this team is not by
Andy Dalton revenge game.
Yeah, maybe that might be maybe the red rifle might come in hot potentially, but other than that, just on paper, the Saints roster is not as talented as the Bengals roster.
No,
and if they can't take this one, I think there's got to be a lot of questions not only about Zach Taylor but just about the offensive line. I mean, something has to change.
Yeah.
I mean, you sign Ted Karras from the offseason, you sign Alex Kappa in the offseason, you sign La'el Collins in the offseason, keep Akeem Adeniji and keep Jonah Williams, but these guys are looking worse than they did last year.
What is up with the offensive line coaching and the?
That's the other thing too. Of like, how that guy, whoever, I need to actually look up who this person is. That is the Bengals offensive line coach, but there's got to be some questions about what's going on, because it's another kind of reverse here too. Not necessarily reverse, but still the defense is looking better coached and still is looking more talented, or at least more aware than the offense is.
Well,
with
Lou
Joe Burrow,
Amarillo's-
Jamar Chase,
yeah.
and freaking Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. It's crazy.
Lou
And Joe
Amarillo is-
Mixon. It's
he's-
crazy to me.
Lou Amarillo's the adult in the room. I can't imagine that Zach Taylor commands respect in that locker room. Seriously. I mean, look, they went to the Super Bowl, but for me, that was just riding on Joe Burrow's talent and the hot hand and the connection between him and Jamar Chase. I'm hoping that they have a bit of deja vu about their college time together, and that's what happens in this matchup. So
Frank Pollock is the Cincinnati Bengals offensive line coach.
Right.
And I'm just like, I don't.
All right,
I don't
call
know.
him out, and he's definitely on our enemy list.
Yeah, we'll put him on there too.
All right, Bradley. So Minnesota -3. That's what you've got. Oh, I have Cincinnati -2.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You're up. Minnesota -3 against Miami.
Yeah, I just am thinking if this is kind of contingent on if Tua's not playing, and even if Tua is playing, I'm just skeptical that he's going to be fully himself after such a serious traumatic injury that he sustained.
It seems like I just saw the news before we went on air that they are starting that third string quarterback.
So if they are starting Skylar Thompson, I think this line is is even a little generous to the Dolphins, because I feel for the guy, Skylar Thompson. He's a 7th round rookie out of Kansas State. He, especially in the Jets game on Sunday, Teddy Bridgewater sustained his own head injury that they were obviously also being super careful about when the Jets got that safety. Basically on it might have been the second snap of the game. So it wasn't even as if Skylar Thompson comes in for a quarter. He was playing the entire game, and he probably wasn't getting team reps during practice. He'll obviously, if that's the case that he's starting, he will obviously get more of that going into this Sunday, but he's a third string rookie. The Vikings have not been able to get nearly as much pressure as I thought they might have been able to with who they have on their defense. I just kind of think they will be able to. I think there's a chance that they can neutralize the weapons with a much less assured person behind center.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it seems like they're waiting on concussion protocol for Teddy Bridgewater to see if he can return. But either way,
would make it a little bit more fair, but I would still say if the Vikings can kind of find the magic that they find every 5 plays with their receiving talent, with Justin Jefferson, with Adam Thielen, with KJ Osborne, if they can use some of Kevin O'Connell's kind of offensive trickery that we've seen, especially we saw at week 1, it's kind of not been the case since then, honestly.
Yeah.
And if Kirk Cousins can just not mess up in the worst ways possible at the worst times possible, I think this could possibly be a good hit, but we'll see. We'll see if Teddy plays, and we'll see if Reek and Waddle can actually get something going with their third string rookie quarterback.
Who is more fraudulent at 4-1, Minnesota or New York Giants? I think the Vikings.
I think the Vikings only because I think the difference is the expectations for the Vikings were higher, and they've looked worse as a 4-1 team.
They seem just very lucky to be 4-1.
That's the thing, though, is it's not even
since that awesome, week 1.
The week 1 game was the really only one that I thought was fully impressive, essentially front to back. The other ones, the other 3 wins that they've had, I've not been super impressed by them.
Yeah,
and I would only say that too because I say that based off expectations, just we were not expecting the Giants to be 4-1. We were not expecting them to look this competitive, and they're doing it anyways.
Yeah.
With who is de facto probably the best wide receiver in the league, this team shouldn't look fraudulent.
Yeah.
And they do.
Yeah. I mean, they do. I think I agree with you, even though I would say they have more talent than the Giants.
No, but I think that's why I say it is because they have much more talent. Than the Giants are rolling. The Giants, especially given their injuries, are rolling out kind of anonymous receivers, people we didn't really know a whole lot about before this year.
Yes.
And they were still coming out and looking competitive. The Vikings just do not seem to have the 4-1 just doesn't make any sense because I'm almost how did you win those games?
Right. I mean, one was against the Lions, one was in London, and one was a beatdown of the Packers early where they rolled out their new offense. So it's I'm in agreement with you. I do think, just because I trust the coaching of the Giants more than I trust the coaching of the Vikings. So I agonized. I agonized.
This was the tough third one.
Over this third pick. Because I think Buffalo could win this game easily, right? And it's a bit of a coin toss. No pun intended about their last meeting, where Buffalo totally got screwed over by that coin toss.
That seemed intentional.
Right.
From you.
And so I'll be honest, guys. Another coin toss, maybe a 3-sided coin, if that makes sense. I was deciding between New York Giants +6 against the Ravens at home, but I couldn't do it because it's the Ravens and because the Giants are coming from London. And Tampa Bay -8 against the stupid Steelers who've ruined my life this year. But that extra point made me scared. I worry about the Tampa Bay Bucks and their propensity to kind of stall out recently in the red zone. And so I just wonder if 8 points is too much and if they might just be winning by a field goal or a pair of field goals. Patrick Mahomes has never been a home underdog. I would guess that he's pissed and that the whole team is ready to go against Buffalo at home. Buffalo's look like the better team, no question about it. But they're at home. They're 2.5-point underdogs, which means on the neutral field they'd be 4-point underdogs. And that seems wrong to me, given what we know what Kansas City can do. So I'm going with my gut, and I'm going with just like the overall narrative about Kansas City maybe just not being the sexy pick and still showing the world that they are one of the 2 best teams in the NFL, the other team that's the best in the NFL right now. Although, the Eagles are up there in the top 3 too.
I definitely I see where this pick is coming from for sure because of what you were saying, and also I'm in
agony about it.
It's tough, but I also just think like there's always sometimes a little bit, as we've been discussing before, especially with that Colts game, like there's just like, there can be like some kind of insular like panic amongst NFL fans or amongst NFL media being like, oh, like, is this the year the Chiefs aren't good, or have they lost a step? Has Mahomes lost a step? Has Reed lost a step? And then they go and hang 41 points in the best defense in the league at that point in the season. So like, I just think there are many outcomes obviously possible with this game. But if this game is down to the wire like it was in the semifinals of last year's playoffs and the Chiefs win, it wouldn't surprise me one iota. And I of course think it's possible that if the Bills just have it going, their offense is running on all cylinders, and the safety play is as it's been with like Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde if healthy, like essentially just like glomming on and gluing on to each receiver, making it much harder for Josh Allen or the run game to have to get something going. I'm sorry, for Mahomes in the run game, excuse me. I could also see obviously going the Bills' way, but I just think this is going to be. I can see this just being a really close game. This is 2 evenly matched teams in my opinion. I don't think there's a huge gap between the 2.
Yeah, I just what Kansas City sometimes decides not to show up, and
that's the thing.
And they're going to show up for this game. I know that they're going to show up for this game,
and I just don't foresee any semblance of like a special team snafu or multiple like that happened in the Colts game. I think the Colts game is an anomaly.
Yeah.
And so I just think this could be close, and I could definitely see the Chiefs asserting themselves again and being like the Bills still can't beat us.
Right, exactly. All right, now for our final pick here, Bradley, you have the Seahawks +2.5 at home.
I sure do, because the Cardinals are bad. And I understand that the Seahawks.
I almost took the Cardinals.
I understand. Oh,
but then
really?
I saw it was in Seattle, and I was like, no, because I thought they made strides last week.
No, they certainly did. Like the offense and the defense. The credit to the defense. Honestly, they relegated the Eagles, who were the only undefeated team left in the entire league, to 20 points. Vance Joseph has done a good job with this defense, that doesn't have a whole lot of talent on it, and JJ Watt has not been fully healthy this season either. Like, they have kind of some like these interesting, odd blitzing packages that they do a lot. They're a very aggressive defense that can kind of get people out of sorts. Like I totally see that, and I'm not discounting it. And like you were saying too, I think that The offense even looked a little bit less stagnant, a little bit less like Kyler, go change the game for us, please. However, if Geno Smith continues to play the way that he does, and if he continues to be as accurate as he is, and just kind of puts his receivers and running backs and whatever the case may be into a position to succeed, if Rashad Penny can get something going on the ground like he's been able to, I think the offense will keep them in this. And if the defense can literally just not be the worst defense in the league, I do think they have a chance against the Cardinals. So I think. It might be 2.5 might be a little bit higher than I'd like it. I would maybe like it to be like a little closer, maybe like a +1. But I just think the Hawks can take it to the Cardinals with Geno and how this offense.
Geno's played great.
Yeah, he's been playing great in the scheme. The offensive scheme looks sound. It doesn't just seem like Geno's.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's shocking.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
right?
It's shocking. Like.
Look, I was convinced even years before I was like this insane Russell Wilson hater, and it's almost become so overwhelming that I kind of feel bad for him, but at the same time, not really.
Nemesis list.
But it's the horseshoe theory for my Russell Wilson hatred.
It's so strong it just becomes like, oh, I almost feel pity now.
Yeah. So it's just, but you kind of just see like maybe he was holding that offense back. Like maybe he was, because with Geno Smith's size and he has a strong arm and seemingly the team actually likes him. I think that the Seahawks are an interesting team this year at the very least. So, those are our picks, man. It's getting.
Sorry. Quick update from the YouTube chat here. Looks like Penny is out for the season.
Since when?
A few hours ago, the field goals over at SB Nation, the Seahawks blog. He had successful surgery.
Wow.
Because he broke his leg. So he's there were fears of additional damage confirmed Monday, and that the injury requires season-ending surgery. That is a really, really tough blow for that Seahawks offense, and a huge bummer for Penny because he was looking so fun. He's such a good athlete. He deserved these chances that he was getting. That sucks.
It really sucks.
Still thinking Geno can do what he can do with Lockett and DK still there and still healthy. If the Will Dissly connection can continue, I still think it's possible. But that's certainly a variable going into my third bet as well. But We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, those are our 3 picks. We'll be tweeting them out. And it's heating up here. Tied up.
Yeah, it's
we could not be more mediocre in like 7-1 each of us. At this point in the season.
The underdog and the road dog are kind of diverging from their monikers, because I did pick a fave for the first time in 5 weeks. But
whoa!
Yeah, I'm selling out a little bit, but we'll see if it works out. If it doesn't, never again. It's not happening for the next 12 weeks. Mark me.